person today. We're so glad you chose to be with us. Let's sing about it. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In the right place. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting a message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. All right, everybody, turn around and say good morning to those live streaming. You're in the right place at the right time. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. I'm getting the message. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. 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 My soul is welcome. No matter what color, culture, sexual orientation, political or religious affiliation, God's got as many pairs. Everybody's welcome. Yeah, I am getting a message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Good morning. Your souls are welcome here. Good to see everyone here this morning. And good to see you as well.
Good morning, Reverend James.
Good morning, Reverend Becca.
As always, this morning we greet you in the name of all that is good, all that is orange and autumnal, and all that is beautiful, and in the warm and loving energy of this ministry, Spiritual Life Center. And if it's your first time with us today, whether you're here in our sanctuary or watching us on live stream, we especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident, but by
Divine appointment.
And we are so grateful that you have kept your appointment with us today. And we would also be grateful if you would silence your cell phones for the service.
As we silence our phones and open our minds and hearts, we feel and sense our connection with the presence of pure spirit. It is a presence that is beyond description and beyond words, but it's something that keeps us going when we can't figure it out on our own. It is that part of us, our part of our universe, our part of this intelligent presence that keeps our heart beating when we're right in our deep sleep, that guides us to do what we're here to do in the right and perfect time. As we come under His government and guidance, we know that everything begins to unfold in His right and perfect way. We are the expression of this presence in this dimension. We can say that we are the way that the presence of God gets around, and God needs us to shine His light in this world. So we're grateful to be those vessels, those vehicles, those instruments of the Spirit of the living God. And as we are, we can say that when you see me, you see the presence that sent me. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Amen. So our Wow Wednesday program this week, we're welcoming back Reverend Dr. Gail Darren and Gail Vinson for a program called The Hero's Journey, which also features live music from Ann Roach and Paula Mandela. And we've switched over to Soup now. So Soup at 6 p.m. and The Hero's Journey at 7 p.m. And we have some other wonderful programs coming up this month for WOW. We're welcoming back Dr. Gaitanda, and Paula's going to tell us a little about that.
Okay. Well, how many of you saw Dr. Gaitanda either at the music concert or at the talk she gave? All right, so on this evening, it will not be a musical evening. It will be an evening where she speaks about the chakras and how the ragas of the Indian classical music and tones affect our organs and our chakras. So it's a very interesting talk. She's somebody who grew up learning classical music, singing classical music, became a doctor, and came full circle back around to the tones and music healing.
All right.
So October 11th.
25th.
25th.
Yes. And we also want to bring you some words about our gala. So to do that is, I think, RJ and Cheryl.
Here he comes now.
Who are here to share with us about that.
It's not long till the gala, at least for you and me. If the wind is right, we can sail away and find tranquility. Oh, the gala can do miracles. Just you wait and see. The gala takes me away to where I've always heard it should be. Dreams are gonna carry me, and soon we will be free. What a wonderful world to see for you and me at the gala. Well, the gala is going to be fabulous. It's an opportunity for people at the first service and people at the second service, people who attend on Wednesdays, to come to our gala, and we all come together as a family. And, you know, the world is maybe not a world of oneness in the exterior, but we're here to vision for the world of oneness in our hearts. So let's all do that at the gala. Let's all come together. Let's affirm that we can be a light here in Sacramento for the whole world. And we'll see you at the gala.
Thank you.
So some of you may remember back in the summer that you signed up to be part of our October photo shoot for our 20th anniversary photo directory. And if you did, your photo opportunity is upon us. This Friday and Saturday, our Life Touch photographers will be here. And if you have one of those appointments, you will be receiving an email reminder soon. And if you still want to be in our 20th anniversary photo directory, and we definitely want you to be in our directory, there are some more dates coming up in November, and you can book an appointment online at slcworld.org.
All right. And also, we'd like to invite you to sign up for your very own permanent name tag. If you don't have one, it's a great way to get connected and keep track of who you are. And also remember who you are.
Will our ambassadors and prayer chaplains please stand?
All right, and we invite you to stay standing. It is our second week for the Faith in Action song, written by our very own Paula Mandela. Have you been listening to it? One person said, uh-huh. Well, that's okay, because we're going to sing it anyway. This is I Remember. Every day is an opportunity to walk the path through the heart, awake my soul, expand the light, and love, love, love it all. I remember in the stillness of the morning, through the chaos of the day, in my resting place reflecting see every day. All day I look beyond what I see every day. All day I can make a choice every day. All day I can make a choice every day. All day search and find my voice every day. All day search and find my voice every day. All day I listen to my heart every day. All day I listen to my heart every day. All day step out and do my part every day. All day step out and do my part every day. All day I make a stand for peace every day. All day I make a stand for peace every day. All day I feel my joy increase every day. All day I feel my joy increase every day. All day I check my attitude every day. All day I check my attitude every day. All day expressing gratitude every day. All day expressing gratitude every day. All day I give up the fight every day. All day I give up the fight every day. All day I am shaping the light every day. All day I am shaping the light every day. All day reach for the highest heights every day. All day reach for the highest heights every day. All day opportunity every day. All day opportunity every day. All day I remember every day. All day I remember every day. All day I remember every day. All day I remember. Please be seated.
Now I invite you to embody these words as we speak together our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions, weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. We cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet.
And now, in preparation for meditation, I invite you to take a nice deep breath. Just sigh it out. Sink into your chair a little more. All is as it should be. I mirror you, you mirror me. And we invite you to join us in singing our meditation chant. Together. All is as it should be. I mirror you, you
All is as it should be. My experience is up to me. And as we settle into meditation, allow yourself to come into that quiet place within, breathing in and breathing out. Feel the pause between each breath. Let your shoulders relax and soften. Coming into that place of stillness, we open to divine guidance, trusting in the ever-loving presence of God. I open my soul to infinite understanding, allowing divine presence to be my guide, my moral compass and source of wisdom. The more support I seek, the more support I receive, flowing through as unconditional love and insight. This without judgment and with a soft awareness, we look within. As we move into the silence, notice what you are feeling. Follow those feelings to their source and see what they reveal. This abundant God source of inspiration is ever present. Welcome it home. And as we return to this room, let your soul be your guide. Honor your feelings. Trust the answer and allow the wisdom to flow. Namaste.
Where I am, God is. Where I stand, God is standing strong. Where I breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me, as me. Where I sing, God is. Where I dance, joy lifts my feet. Where I live, beauty's flowing free, in and out and through me. where I doubt, God is the faith in me. Where I cry, God is the comfort there. Where I seek, God is the answer. Here and now, forever and ever and ever. Where I speak truth is, where I work, love is my career. Where I play, God is playing boldly, in and out and through me, as me. Oh, oh. Do 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 do. Where I am, where I stand, where I play, where I work and breathe and move and be, where I sing, where I dance, my dance, my dance, wherever I go, where I speak and pray and give and live. God is, God is, God
God is. And something else that is our artists that give an artistic representation of our topic from our Faith in Action for each week. We had great artists last week. I know we got two more this week, and they are Carrie Willis, as well as Barbara Colleen. So they're going to come forward, and I'm going to read their statements of what their art. All right. Who's going to go first? You? That's Carrie, right? All right. Carrie Willis. And the title of her artwork is called Intuition. And she writes, intuition is perception beyond the five physical senses, designed to assist us through hunches, greater insights, inspiration, and creativity. Ask for guidance, then listen for the answer. Relax, meditate, take a walk. I connect to my intuition best at the beach or ocean. This painting is based on a photograph I took from the balcony of our ship as we sailed home from the Dominican Republic after several days of service work. The sun was streaming through the dark clouds onto the still water as we passed the green mountains of Haiti. Where do you go to still your mind and listen to your intuition? Carrie Willis, Intuition. And this is Barbara Colleen's artist statement. She writes, the oval shape in the foreground of my painting represents our mind. The squiggles within the shape represent our thoughts and the accompanying emotions and feelings. We can either reinforce or release them. The waves that appear to be flowing upward from the mind represent our moment-to-moment choice to elevate our thoughts and thereby raise our level of consciousness. According to Gary Zukov, when we change our thoughts, we change the quality of our light and the nature of our experiences and our effects on others. Yes, Barbara Cole affects one, affects all of us. I think we're realizing that more so than ever. So as we go into our second week of our Faith in Action, based on Gary Zukov's book, The Seat of the Soul, we're reminded of that part of us that is always immortal. Reminded of that part of us that loves without restriction, that accepts without judgment. You know, it's that part he's calling the soul that goes outside of time, goes outside of space. It's really beyond our normal way of seeing things from a three-dimensional world, from the five-sense way of seeing the world. So he's kind of stretching us in many respects. And it reminded me how I was stretched one time when I was listening to a gentleman by the name of Malidoma Some. And he's the author of a book called Of Water and Spirit. And he's a spiritual leader. He leads men's groups, and he's a shaman, a lecturer. He was a college professor. And he's from an African community called Dano. And according to the story, his story that when he was very young, about 4, he said 4 rainy seasons, well, I guess it's 4 years. You know, he was, according to him, you know, taken against his will by some priest and went to a boarding school. They were going to try to convert him into a priest. And it left him somewhat traumatized. And when he was about 20, after being there for 15 years, he left and he walked 125 miles back to his village. And it's a big book there, but there was one part of it that he was talking about his initiation by his elders. And the elders put him through this initiation that normally, you know, someone around 14 would be going through. But they put him through his initiation because they thought his soul was somehow missing in the land where he had been captive. And the initiation was going to bring him back so that his whole being would be with the village again. So it was a month-long initiation that he went through. It was very intense. And he says that, you know, all of his senses and his way of seeing the world collapsed. And he said he saw beyond his three-dimensional world. He saw beings from Netherlands. He saw visions of his grandfather. He saw beings and how they inhabit nature. He talked about the idea of entering this light hole, and some come in, some don't come out. And he saw these bands of colors that he could grab onto, and that, you know, tiny cells of changing color are moving through him. And he sensed that he was invisible, and he couldn't even see his own body. And as he came out of this light hole, he said great sensations were suddenly coming up around him, and these small flames were quickly covering his body, and he still has some physical scars from it. And so that was really kind of blowing my mind from my understanding of how the world operates. And I bring that up because there was a question that someone brought up about, you know, the work. It came to me because they were asking a question that I had asked many years ago when I first read Gary Zukov's book. I think that was in the 90s I had read it, its first edition. And the question is, how does he know what he knows? You know, that's a good question. How does he know what he knows? And so when he came to Unity Village, actually a few years ago, and there was someone that asked him the same question. And he said, there's no scientific way to validate anything that he says about the soul. Because science cannot validate the existence of the soul any more than it can validate the existence of something we call God. Because he's talking about something non-physical. And he's realizing that these are things that science cannot grasp. And he said that everything that he shares not as dogma, not as truth. And he feels that anyone who takes in his words must understand that it's only a window of how he's seeing the world from his viewpoint and his experiences. And it was helpful to him in his soul evolution. And he hopes it'll be helpful for others who read his book or hear anything that he talks about. So he says he invites us to use it if we resonate with it, to make it our own. But if we don't, he said, throw it away. He said, don't try to wear a pair of shoes that pinches too tight on your feet. And I think it's really good because it stretches our own minds beyond what we normally see. Where, in this teaching, we try to question everything. As everybody said, we get our questions answered, but we also answer. What is that? How's it go? We question our answers. Yes. See? I get, the call and response here at Spiritual Life Center. So we're questioning our answers as well. So we never really accept anything on face value because we have to really look within our own being and ask, well, does this resonate for me? Is it helping me grow spiritually? Is it helping my soul unfold? So we also question, what is truth? And I've come to conclude that truth is anything that helps us evolve spiritually. Anything beyond that is not the truth. So anyway, I say all of that as we get to the topic today of intuition. And of course, he talks about one of these unseen forces that we can capture when we're in sync with our soul power, with our authentic power. And I remember many years ago, and I was just thinking about this. I think it was one of my first jobs out of college. I was working for this nonprofit in the top of the organization, the CEO, the president. I don't know how I ended up. I was in her car. She was a very hard driving person, and she had a Porsche, and she would be driving through the residential neighborhoods on the business area, and literally, she would be driving like 70 miles an hour, and I'm holding on to I was trying to act like I was trying to be cool, but I couldn't. I was like, this is like a little bit too much for me right now. And then I noticed that we came to a stop sign, or a red light, and the light turned green, and she didn't move. I mean, I was about to say, are you aware that, and then all of a sudden, a car crossed across the intersection going full speed right at the moment that she would have gone across. And I asked her, how did you know not to go through the green light when the green light was green? And all she said, something told me just not to move. It was that something. I never really thought about it, so I started reading this stuff, but something told her not to move. And I'm glad that she followed that at that moment. And I began to think about, as I was going over this chapter, just times in my own life where I was led to do something without any process of reasoning whatsoever. There was nothing that rationally said to do this or do that, but somehow something told me to do this. And earlier on, I was working with a lawyer in a law firm, and there was someone who had a case, and they were representing themselves, so they had messed the whole thing up, and they had a hearing later on that day, and it was something in federal court on bankruptcy I knew nothing about at all. But he needed to have a favorable ruling in order to, for whatever happened. I can't remember all the details. But he brought me the situation, some sort of debt that had to be looked at from a certain way. And of course, I knew nothing about that area, but I decided to help him out because nobody else would. And so I was sitting there in the library where all the law books are. And usually, you have to, if you research something, you go in there and you research and you go through all these things. You may research hours and hours and hours to try to find something that will support your position. And I was sitting there with no time. So I said, well, there's not really much I could do for him. I told him that. And I pulled a book off the shelf. Now, understand, in the law library, they got bunches of books, hundreds of them. And I was just sitting there, just pulled this one off. And I said, well, let me look under this area of bankruptcy. It was in there. And lo and behold, the exact fact pattern of his case was in there and gave a ruling that was favorable. That's something in her, telling her to try something she had never tried before, and it worked. And I think we all have that ability, that intuitive power to connect with that soul power that knows all. You know, there's a statement in the scriptural reference that says, before you call, I've already answered you. It has the answer even before we know what the question is. But I think the challenge is that we've come to distrust sometimes those intuitive impulses because they often rise spontaneously. They're irrational. They seem to be untrustworthy to our surface mind. But those intuitive impulses really are always inherently good. I think they come from that all-knowing presence of spirit that contains that blueprint for constructive action. It is our direct connection to this all-knowing wisdom. And they're there to keep us evolving. They're there to keep us safe. They're here to keep us healthy on all levels. But I think one of the challenges that we don't often follow our impulses, or the impulses or the intuition comes up and we do the opposite. Well, maybe I'm talking for myself, I know. It says go left and I go right anyway. And so I think what we want to do is find ways that we can express ourselves perhaps in a different way and tap into that intuitive nature. So someone told me a technique because she said that we can actually hone the skill of developing our intuition. It is actually a skill. Some people have it naturally, I think. You know, it's like mothers or they know. You think you're getting away with something, but they know. They know. They got that intuitive sense. But anyway, this person said, you just take a little small notebook and note everything that intuitively is guiding you to do something throughout the day. Whenever it arises within you, just note it down within the book. You know, location, the date, and just watch it. And then review those notes and see if there's a pattern, whether you follow that intuition or not. And she said that over time, we'll become aware of the information and messages that we are getting from the Spirit all of the time. If we just practice that, because we have that ability to sense something that's greater than ourselves, that knows everything, but we sometimes block it out. And she said we'll begin to recognize when our intuition arises and become more confident when we begin to follow it. You know, I realize if we do that, that something will become real to us. Sometimes in order for us to hear that something, we have to clear out our negative emotions, our low vibration of energy that Gary Zugoff talks about, so we can be in tune with those intuitive impulses. I think when we do, we increase our awareness of the soul power guidance. And we begin by becoming aware of what we're feeling. And he says that the way that we can begin to clear out, you know, those blockages is to look at our emotions, look at our feelings, and see what's the source. I think Becca was talking about going back, you know, who was that was doing the meditation? Was that Sherry? Yes. She said something about capturing our emotions and going back to the source and see what's behind that. And what that reminded me of how to get to that something. There was a acquaintance, a friend of mine, who was very angry at a friend because that friend didn't follow through on a promise which he said he was going to help her in exchange for something that she had done for him. But he didn't appear on the day that he was supposed to. And so she started fantasizing about beating him to a pulp and enjoying every minute of it. But after a while, she let that fantasy fade, and she began to feel a little bit more calm, a little bit more relaxed. Started getting in harmony with her true feeling, what was behind that. And she said that when she got in that state, she realized that she was angry because she had feared that she did not have the ability to do what that person was coming to do to help her with. And so all of that energy was really not about him. It was really about something within her. And so the feeling came up because it was a gift that gave her an opportunity to learn something that she did not learn or know about at that time. And so she began to clear out that negative energy that was blocking her from, you know, the intuition that would help her later on. And I think Gary Zugoff says that every time we let our negative emotions run their course, we'll find that there is perfectly an understandable belief behind them, a belief that we otherwise would not be aware of. But I think there's also an added benefit. I think it enhanced, in this case, her ability to tune in to her intuitive impulses. That's something that's always seeking to guide her. Because sometimes that low vibration that we have, the anger, the fear, the rage, blocks our intuitive powers. So we need to develop a way to shift away from that low vibration so those impulses can come through. Now, it's really hard to do, if we're right in the middle of an emotional meltdown. I don't know if anybody has those, We can't really think, sometimes you can be so upset you can't think straight, So it's probably in those moments we can't figure out, how to get off of that. And so one of the things that I found helpful is to have a positive picture in your mind that you can go to whenever that begins to rise up. Something that is so emotionally soothing and powerful that when you think about it, it takes you off the low vibration, the rage, the anger, and all the negativity. I always think about the time that, when my son was born, I was there in the hospital. Man, when I think about that, it was such a surreal experience. It took me to a whole different way of being. Or the other times when I'm just like walking on the beach on a warm day, it just brings something to me. So if I have those pictures in my mind and I'm going through something at the moment that's taking me off my centeredness, that happens from time to time, believe it or not. Someone said, just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and think about those good times. And it'll begin to take you off those negative experiences so you can open yourself up to those intuitive impulses that are there for us. I think when we clear ourselves of those dark emotions, we shift our energy and our intuitive powers can begin to kick in. And when you begin to do that, those intuitive powers will take you to the right place at the right time in a way that you never would have considered before. You might be working on a project or a problem, and the intuition will say, let's stop working on the project and problem and go down to wherever, walk down the street. And then, you'll see the person that has the very solution to what you're working on. You walk up to the person and say, "Oh, aren't you Reverend James? I've been looking for you." Well, they won't say that to you unless you look like me. But the whole idea is it'll take you places that you never would have imagined when we follow that guidance. And there's no ration, rhyme, or reason to why we've done that. In the case of my friend who realized what was behind her anger about the person that didn't come help her, she shared another time that she was broke and she had been working for a couple of years to get a particular job. And she said that she had sent in resumes and made phone calls and tried to contact people to get with this particular company, and to no avail. And she had been doing a lot of her own personal work and personal growth and development and kind of clearing out all the stuff that was holding her back, all the blockages. And then one day she said she just got this desire or impulse to go antique shopping. Now, she knew nothing about antiques, had never gone antique shopping before in her life. But that particular day, she decided just to go ahead and go antique shopping at this particular place. And she's walking around not knowing what the heck she was looking at. Don't waste our time on worry, not burn ourselves out with fear, but raise our frequency by removing the blockages and the hindrances that are somehow stopping us from connecting with that presence. And if we do, we'll stay inspired by this intuitive power and feel it everywhere, because it's in this presence, this soul presence, that we live, we move, and we have our very beingness in. We just got to let it go and let it flow. And so it is. Peace and blessings to you. And as we always do at the end of each talk, we have an affirmation. I think it may be up on our screen. If it's not, I know it's in the bulletin. somewhere, either inside or outside. Do you see it? Inside? Okay. If you see it, and voila, it is actually open up on our screen as well. So let's read that together, if you can read it from your seat or you can read it from your bulletin. It goes like this. I am open to receiving the support of my intuition, knowing I create authentic power as I align my personality with my soul. So hold that in your awareness and consciousness throughout the week and tap into that all-knowing presence. And from that same space, we prepare to give from the consciousness of the all-providing presence we call God, knowing that the giving is not only to benefit Spiritual Life Center, but also benefit the givers as well. So let's say our offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
When I think I'm only human, and that's what I choose to see. I know I'm living in illusion. I got chains binding me. When I see myself as limited by my physicality, I know a part of me knows better, and that part will set me free. 'Cause I am more than I think I am, more than I know I can be. 'Cause I am body, mind, and spirit, and I choose to live in harmony. And when I buy into the drama, and I believe the lies I hear, those are things that do not serve me. They just hold it in my feet. Hey, when I know that I am worthy, and I'm the best that I can be, I know it's spirit's true pleasure are the moments when I truly see that I am more than I think I am, more than I think I am, more than I know I can be. 'Cause I am body, mind, and spirit, and I choose to live in harmony. Yeah. And every day I'm learning better to feel the love inside of me. 'Cause that love will lead to balance and true equality. More than I think I am, more than I think I am, more than I know I can be. 'Cause I am body, mind, and spirit, and I choose to live in harmony. Yes, I am body, mind, and spirit, and I choose to live in harmony. Hey.
We are more than what we think we are. And so we take that into our awareness as we go forth this week. Open up to that intuitive presence that is there for us. And we bless these tithes and offerings, knowing they're going to bless the givers and receivers as we go forth, multiplying the all good in our life and ultimately in our world. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Let us sing our peace song. Yes. Got ahead of myself.
Peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds